The official Nintendo Museum is opening in Kyoto, Japan on October 2nd, 2024. But will a museum solely dedicated to Nintendo actually be worth visiting? Well, Shigeru Miyamoto gave us an early inside look at the museum, and the Nintendo Museum definitely feels very Nintendo. To start things off, it of course wouldn't be a Nintendo museum without a vast display of Nintendo's history. Visitors will be able to see Nintendo's entire history compacted into the second floor of the museum. There are a bunch of Nintendo games and consoles on display, everything from the Famicom or NES in the United States to the Switch. Now, something I am curious about is how Nintendo plans to keep all of these games and systems in pristine condition. Because with retro collecting being bigger than ever, we're now aware of many collectors who do an incredible job at upkeeping their retro games and systems. So I feel like it would be quite ironic if the collection at the official Nintendo Museum is actually worse than some of the fans around the world. I mean, just look at the state of this Donkey Kong box.
God, look at the state of that.
Anyway, if you say screw you to that one Netflix movie and do actually look up, you'll see some massive controllers and handhelds. Everything from giant NES and Famicom controllers to a giant Nintendo Switch, complete with a glossy reflective screen. And oh boy, I sure hope those things are sturdy up there, because I would be terrified to see a giant Wii U gamepad come crashing down on me. Although I guess it wouldn't be the first time someone was crushed by the Wii U, am I right? There are also some really cool curations of classic Nintendo games and products. There's a collection that shows off all of Nintendo's products that focus on physical body movement. Of course, we have the Wii Fit and Ring Fit Adventure, but there's also the freaking Nintendo Fitness Bike. I didn't even know this was a thing. There are also multiple displays showing off the evolution of Nintendo games, of course including the evolution of Nintendo's game graphics, and even the evolution of the question mark block from Mario. But the craziest collection is this display of the products Nintendo made before video games. There are so many things that you never expect Nintendo to have made. A copy machine, board games, even a freaking baby stroller. It's actually really wild that Nintendo has all of these things archived from literally almost a century ago. And I think it'll be really fun to take a trip through Nintendo's long history all in one room. But if you feel like doing something other than walking around the museum, there are also some really cool workshops you can check out. There's the craft room, which you can spend 2,000 yen or about $14 to reserve a spot for. This is a 60-minute workshop during which you'll be able to create your very own Hanafuda playing cards to take home with you. Now, in case you're wondering what the heck is Hanafuda, well, Hanafuda is a Japanese card game based on the Hana Awase game dating all the way back to 1816. Then in 1889, Nintendo started producing and selling handcrafted Hanafuda playing cards. And now, all these years later, you can make a reservation for the playroom at the Nintendo Museum for 500 yen or about $4 per person for a group of 2 players. This 30-minute workshop will teach you the rules of Hanafuda. And the coolest part is that it even uses projection technology to really show you how to play the game. Although they don't mention it on the website and they didn't mention it in the Nintendo Museum Direct, I'm kind of predicting that they may hold limited time events in these little workshop rooms. Like maybe there will be some cute little holiday themed workshops in the craft room. Now, what if you're feeling hungry during your visit? What kind of food will the Nintendo Museum offer? Well, it has become this kind of weird underground meme that Shigeru Miyamoto really likes hamburgers. He will take any opportunity he gets to scream to the world how much he likes to eat hamburgers.
You can play while holding onto a handle on the subway
ハンバーガーを食べながらでも大丈夫です。
while eating a hamburger.
So it only seems fitting that there is a burger joint inside the Nintendo Museum, the Hatena Burger Cafe. While we don't know too much about the cafe, we do know that you'll be able to create your own burger with over 270,000 combinations of ingredients. There apparently will also be special drinks and sides on the menu as well. What exactly that entails, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But based on the quick look we've seen so far, it seems like this cafe is a lot more low-key than, say, the Toadstool Cafe in Super Nintendo World, which is way more in your face with Mario references. Meanwhile, the Hatena Burger Cafe seems much more chill and subtle rather than screaming at you with Nintendo references, which I think matches the overall vibes of the more quiet and modest Nintendo Museum. And on your way out, you can even pick up some Nintendo goodies at the bonus stage shop. According to the description on the website, there will be some official Nintendo merchandise, which I imagine will probably be a lot of the fun stuff you can also find at Nintendo stores. But there will also even be some items that are exclusive to the Nintendo Museum. Maybe we can even snag the Nintendo Museum shirt that Papa Miyamoto was wearing in the Direct. In classic Nintendo fashion, they just had to gamify the museum-going experience. The Nintendo Museum features 8 of what Nintendo is calling interactive exhibits. These interactive exhibits are essentially little games that make use of the tech from Nintendo's past. In the Nintendo Museum Direct, we were given a look at the Ultra Machine SP based on the Ultra Machine batting toy designed by Gunpei Yokoi in 1967. This machine pitches balls to you, which you then hit with a large soft bat. But the real Nintendo magic of this exhibit comes from the fact that when you hit different objects in these recreated Japanese homes, they will physically react in some way. For example, if you hit these bottles, they actually spin, or if you hit the copy machine, it'll spit out a paper. It's such an interesting concept that I feel like only Nintendo would think to do. Now, the most controversial thing about this is that there seems to be something missing from this picture. That's right, Nintendo actually made a baseball bat without a wrist strap. I immediately started having anxiety-driven visions of the baseball bat going right through that TV, just like the Wii Remote. Speaking of which, another exhibit you'll find at the Nintendo Museum is the Big Controller. And just as it sounds, these are in fact big controllers. The idea here is that you and another person will have to work together to use these massive controllers to play classic Nintendo games. For example, you'll have to use a giant Famicom controller to play the original Super Mario Bros., or a giant Super Famicom controller to play Super Mario Kart, and even a giant Wii Remote to play Wii Sports Resort. But wait a minute. If we enhance this image, what are we missing again? Wrist straps. What's going on inside of Nintendo that they keep forgetting the wrist straps? And speaking of classic controllers, there's also the Zapper and Scope SP. This exhibit is based on the NES Zapper and the SNES Super Scope. I wonder how many people didn't know that these were real products and not just Splatoon weapons. You can take one of the 2 light guns and earn points by firing at Mushroom Kingdom enemies on a giant screen, which can accommodate up to 13 players. It totally reminds me of something like the Toy Story ride at Disneyland, or there's even a similar interactive wall at Super Nintendo World. So this looks like it'll be a really fun time. But wait, after having this image scanned by professional forensic scientists, we've made the most twisted revelation of all. Where are the wrist straps, Nintendo? This can only mean one thing. Switch 2 is just a simulation. No, in all seriousness, all 8 of the exhibits are listed on the Nintendo Museum website. You have even more references to some of the niche products from Nintendo's past, like the Game & Watch SP, in which you play classic Game & Watch games using your own shadow, and even the Love Tester SP, which is based on a crazy product that I can't believe Nintendo actually made. Now, digging through the Nintendo Museum website, we can start to learn exactly how these exhibits will work. The interactive exhibits at Nintendo Museum will require digital coins, which you are given 10 of at the start of your visit. Each exhibit will require a certain number of digital coins, with Nintendo stating that you won't be able to experience all interactive exhibits with the 10 digital coins. The kicker is that there currently is no way of purchasing more digital coins. So Nintendo basically gives you your 10 coin allowance and that's all you have to spend. And you're able to keep track of your digital coins as well as your scores on this player ticket, which I think is really cool because you can actually customize it with an image of your Mii or with a standard Nintendo icon. It is a bit of a shame that you won't be able to experience every exhibit at the Nintendo Museum because of the limited digital coins. This is another one of these instances where I feel like people wouldn't mind just throwing their money at Nintendo for more coins. But I imagine this whole coin system will help keep lines and crowds reasonable for all of the exhibits. It's also nice that if you do want to experience the other exhibits, you won't have to pay crazy amounts of money to purchase tickets for another trip to the Nintendo Museum. And speaking of which, how the heck do you even get into the Nintendo Museum? Well, by heading onto the Nintendo Museum website, you'll see an option to reserve tickets online. As of this recording, the only way to get tickets for the museum from October through November is through a random drawing. And if you are actually lucky enough to be chosen, you'll end up paying 3,300 yen or about 23 US dollars for an adult ticket, 2,200 yen or about 16 US dollars for a youth ticket, 1,100 yen or about 8 US dollars for a child ticket, and preschoolers are able to get in free, which is pretty nice. Now, in order to even get into these drawings, you'll need to have a Nintendo account. And although it's quite easy and totally free to make a Nintendo account, I think it's pretty interesting that Nintendo is at least attempting to control what will likely be high demand purchases. It does make me wonder if they will get rid of the whole random drawing and just have a regular ticketing system in the future. It sure has taken Super Nintendo World a heck of a long time to even be manageable to get into. So for now, if you even want a chance to get into the museum, I hope you have your lucky charm equipped. Because with the info we learned from the Nintendo Museum Direct, I imagine the museum will be a very popular place for people to visit. Speaking of which, if you want to see my full reactions to the Nintendo Museum Direct, make sure you check out the video below. Let me know in the comments if you guys are planning on visiting the Nintendo Museum. For now, thank you for watching this video and thank you so much to our members. My name is Chase and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.